Greetings, salutations to Safe to Serve International and first-time viewers. Welcome to this midday power surge, your spiritual oasis on this pilgrim journey. I'm your host, Andrew Henriquez. Welcome one, welcome all to this midday power surge. This past Sabbath, I made a startling statement during the morning service. And that was addressing the fact that I have drawn the conclusion that many people seem to die during the months of December and January. I actually did a research and I realized that is a fact. You may be asking, what's a fact? That more people die in the months of December and January than in any other months. Why is that so? Stay tuned. I will cover that shortly. I'm going to be also addressing that this call that America is now a Christian nation. We must re-Christianize America. We must make America Christian. That is the dog whistle for the coming national Sunday law, which the Bible calls the mark of the beast. And it's time for all of us to be found prepared and stop playing church. Be found prepared and stop being spiritually indolent. Also, I'm going to be addressing that right now we're seeing bills making their way through Senates, Congresses, Houses, and those bills are actually saying, number one, if you don't go along with the coming Sabbath worship, Sunday worship, then you are a terrorist. You wait until I get to that. And thirdly, there is another bill that's making its way through Houses and Senates in various states and even through Congress to give American citizens the authority, the permission, the power to come and seize your private house, seize your private land. What does that signal? You wait until I get to that. Well, my friends, that and many, many more, we will be covering today. Let's get right into it, shall we? All right, friends. On yesterday, during Midday Power Surge, I spoke about the Turning Point USA America Fest 2025, which took place in Phoenix, Arizona, December 17 through December 20. And throughout the various speakers, the theme was, let's make America Christian. Make America Christian again. I'm going to roll about 2 or 3 clips, and then I'm going to share with you some things I did not cover during yesterday's Midday Power Surge. If you want to know the backstory, go watch what we covered on yesterday. Let's get right into it, friends. Back over here, because these things are going to be very startling. My friends, take a look at this. This is clip 1 of several. Steve Bannon.
They hate Charlie Kirk because Charlie Kirk brought victories. And with victory after victory after victory, that's when we can re-Christianize this country. What was Charlie Kirk's lesson? That we are a Christian nation that got off the rails. We have to re-Christianize this country.
I speak to you as a visitor and a guest in your magnificent country with the reminder that it was none other than Charlie Kirk that said your Constitution was written, he believes, to be practiced by a Christian nation. That if you don't have Christianity as an accompaniment to the Constitution, you'll get corruption. Now, allow me just to say this one more thing. There are 2 quotes I want to give you. One is from the British writer G.K. Chesterton, who is credited with bringing C.S. Lewis, that other great British writer, to the Lord. He said, Christianity has not been tried and found wanting. It has been found difficult and left untried.
Listen.
We have not yet tried to create the Christian nation that America may yet become. As an Englishman, as a visitor, I pray that you're able to do it. I pray that you can build a Christian America to be a shining city on a hill, an exemplar for the rest of the world. I pray that in the name of the Son, the Father, and the Holy Spirit.
He sounds so convincing, and yet he is revealing his ignorance. Nations in the past have tried to make their countries Christian. What happened in the Dark Ages between 538 AD through 1798? Number two, what about America? When America established Sunday blue laws, what was that all about? That was to make America Christian. Russell Brand, have a seat and be schooled and educated. Here is the Vice President, J.D. Vance.
The only thing that has truly served as an anchor of the United States of America is that we have been, and by the grace of God, we always will be a Christian nation.
Now, it's clear what the theme was for Turning Point USA America Fest. And I'm going to say this on record. I believe that before Charlie Kirk was assassinated, it was the most influential movement in America. Post Kirk's assassination, we will see how potent the movement is going forward. And they have a schedule coming up in 2026, this tour to make America Christian. Make America Christian again. On yesterday, I played several clips to confirm that that statement to make America Christian is the Sunday law. I'm going to simply put on the screen what I shared yesterday, but I won't play those. I'm going somewhere else to give you more evidences the mark of the beast is on foot. And later on, I'm going to confirm without ambiguity that it is on record that when they force Sunday worship by law on Americans, the objective is to strike terror in the hearts of Seventh-day Adventists. Watch this. On the screen, we have Jonathan Berry stating that to make America Christian, we need a Sunday law as it was in the time of Emperor Constantine. I covered that on yesterday. And I also played Stephen Wolfe. To make America Christian, we need Sunday worship by law. I won't play that today. Move on from that. Here is who I call the shadow president, Kevin Roberts, the cowboy Catholic. He's writing an article posted in the Heritage Foundation publication. And this is about making America Christian. Do you know what he referenced? A time is going to come, we must punish Sabbath breakers. To make America Christian, it means Sunday worship by law. And to punish Sabbath breakers, punish Sunday breakers. And he referenced this article. If any person on Sunday dare violate Sunday worship, they must be prosecuted, penalized financially, imprisoned, and of course, you know what the next step is going to be. The death penalty. And if you dare speak against Sunday worship, if you preach against worshiping on Sunday, that's also a crime by law. This is what they mean when they say, make America Christian. By the way, do you recall several months ago I shared with you Kevin Roberts and the Heritage Foundation, the most influential policy-making organization in America and around the world. He went to Europe and carried the same slogan, make America great again. In Europe, make Europe great again. Not only M-A-G-A, MAGA, but M-E-G-A, mega. make Europe great again. Great again, Sunday worship by law in Europe, in the old world. That's what they mean. Beloved, let's come back to America here. This is Idaho, the Idaho state. An article was ran over there. It says, to make the state of Idaho Christian, it means we need Sunday worship by law. Sunday observance is the mark of a Christian nation. It's the mark of Christian nations. It's the mark of a Christian state. This is what they mean when they say, make America Christian. And 2026, they go on a tour. Beloved, you don't get any higher and more influential than having these groups together. The most influential and prominent policymakers, civil leaders on one hand, with the most grassroots influential movement conflated. What a recipe. A recipe for disaster, as we will say colloquially. A recipe of poison. A recipe for the mark of the beast enforcement. Could 2026 be the year? I'm going to say something I did not say yesterday. I was remiss. Negligent. Came to my mind, but I did not punctuate it. Friends, here it is. While TP USA, Turning Point USA, is largely a conservative group, it's largely leaning towards right, it leans Elephant Party, something is missing because the Sunday law doesn't come through one party. Let me repeat that. The Sunday law based on the Bible and spirit of prophecy cannot and will not be enforced through one party. It must be a union of elephant and donkey. So while we see the Elephant Party more so leaning towards that Sunday law, something has to happen in America that will bring TPUSA, conservatives, right-leaning, with the liberals, the nominals, the secular, the atheists, the donkey party to come together and demand a Sunday law. What would that be? Come on, Safe to Serve online right now. What would that be? Those of you are live in the comment section. Well, what would that be? It's going to be a joining of calamities, financial crisis. This will bring America to its knees. Is that point clear? I did not cover that on yesterday, but there it is. Get back to my point. When they say, make America Christian, it means Sunday law. On the screen, preacher. Sunday observance is a mark of Christian nations. Also, they said, headline, make Idaho a Christian state. Hold on. It's no different from when they said, make every state in America a state of sodomy. Make New York a sodomy state. Make California a sodomy state. Until they said, make the federal government promote sodomy, same-sex union. State by state. Make Idaho a Christian state. Make Texas a Christian state. Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, Utah. Don't forget Utah. Make these states Christian states. And then comes the Sunday law, my friends. State by state. You know what? I want you all to go back to Erica Kirk's statement I covered yesterday, where she put up on the screen several stopping places in various states where Turning Point USA will travel to promote Make America Christian, Sunday worship by law. What states are those? Which states are those? Go back and take a look at that. There it is, my friends. And even in Idaho, the opposers of this movement actually said to make Idaho a Christian state, it is reminding them of the Roman Catholic influence in the old world. Church and state union, Sunday worship by law, prosecution for opposers, persecution for opposers. It's right there. Sunday worship by law, Idaho. And with that law in Idaho, punish Sabbath breakers. You see it now? When they say Sabbath breaking, they mean Sunday breaking. Don't argue with me. You would not succeed. Here's where they said Sunday law will strike terror in the hearts of Seventh-day Adventists. That means we are marked men. In Liberty magazine, it was published. Headline says, Iowa legislature, quote, refuses to make blue laws bluer. Look at the words in the red box. The article expressed, quote, both bills greatly increase the penalties for Sunday law violations. This increase of penalties as a punishment for refusing to observe Sunday is an attempt on the part of religious organizations that recently passed resolutions to this effect in order, as they stated, quote, to bring Seventh-day Adventists to time and strike terror into them. What does that mean? To bring Seventh-day Adventists to time, to bring Seventh-day Adventists to a test. Sunday worship by law is a test. It's the final test. And to strike terror in the hearts of Seventh-day Adventists. They know who we are. And the objective is to persecute us, to silence us. And notice, the state of Iowa is on the list of Project 2025 movement. There it is, friends. To bring Sunday law, according to Jonathan Berry, Sunday law in various states. Prove me wrong. Try. You will not succeed. Next segment. Let's get back to Vice President J.D. Vance. What this man said to all of America and the world, because Turning Point USA is a global movement, not only here in America. This man said, make America Christian. I'm not saying he qualified. I'm not saying you have to be Christian to reside in America, but you must abide by our creed. I want you all, those of you alive right now, go on Google and type the words creed definition. Generally speaking, a creed is not political. A creed has a religious connotation. So what creed must you abide by very soon as J.D. Vance makes America Christian? What creed must we abide by? It's Sunday worship by law. The Catholic creed, common good. Before I go there was an article on X posted where Erica Kirk actually publicly stated that she is backing J.D. Vance for President 2028. That should have been in my keynote. I neglected to put it there, but you can search for it. Here is J.D. Vance.
The only thing that is truly served as an anchor of the United States of America is that we have been, and by the grace of God, we always will be a Christian nation. I'm not saying you have to be a Christian to be an American. I'm saying something simpler and truer. Christianity is America's creed. Our country's major debates have always centered on how we could best as a people please God.
A creed. And by the way, in that statement, in that clip, he placed the word creed in the context of religion. You saw that? That's church and state. And what is his creed? If I say you all must abide by America's creed and I'm vice president, maybe I'll become president in 2028 if time were to last and if the mark of the beast is not yet enforced. You saw my qualifications? That's how we do things here. The first question is, what creed am I referring to? And you would start with me, the speaker. What is your creed, Pastor Enriquez? Let's go. What's your creed, J.D. Vance? It's on the screen. Roman Catholic social teaching. That's what he said in the red words. His words, not mine. And common good, the Catholic social teaching, is Sunday worship by law. This is what they mean when they say, make America Christian. Okay, let's go back to history. How many of you recall the person by the name of Roger Williams? Those who are alive in the comment section, what did Roger Williams encounter in early America? And what state did he establish? And why? Okay, get to the screen while you're typing. It says, watch creed. Watch the word creed in the statement. Attendance at the services of the established church was required under a penalty of fine or imprisonment. Roger Williams reprobated the law. He protested against that law. Church and state forcing you to go to church. The worst statute in the English code was that which did but enforce attendance upon the parish church. Here is Roger Williams, blue words, to compel men to unite with those of a different creed. Roger Williams regarded as an open violation of their natural rights to drag to public worship the irreligious and the unwilling, seemed only like requiring hypocrisy. No one should be bound to worship, or he added, to maintain a worship against his own consent. That's a nail in a sure place. What Vice President J.D. Vance, President Trump, Kevin Roberts, Jonathan Berry, Steve Bannon, and the rest, Erica Kirk, Paula White, and the rest are promoting. Make America great. Make America Christian. You must abide by our creed. It happened before. That's the point. It happened before. It happened before. Where's my book? My friends, what book, along with the Bible, is now due to the world? The book, The Great Controversy, my friends. That's it. It happened before. There's nothing new under the sun, says Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 9. So how close are we then to the mark of the beast, where the government of America enacts a creed, Roman Catholic creed, and forces every person to abide by it or be prosecuted, persecuted? How close are we? So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. A matter of when. A matter of when. Back on the screen, preacher. Let me draw this point home. The first sentence and the second sentences say, when they exalted their creed, they forced people to go to church on Sunday. On yesterday, I played a clip. Remember that? From Arizona? An Arizona state senator, I believe Arizona, that said, it's time for us to be debating a bill that will require every American, not only Arizonians, every American, you call that, to attend a church of their choice on Sunday. That's a creed. Is that clear, my friends? That's a nail in a sure place. And then I shared on yesterday Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, it's time to force people to attend church because church attendance is declining in America. And Trump echoed the same words. The creed is here. The creed power is here. But we must stand like Christ. Stand like the disciples. We ought to obey God rather than men. That's it. We must put a thus saith the Lord above a thus saith the state and a thus saith the church. Next segment. In this segment, I'm going to share with you how it will look when America officially become a Christian nation. It's happening in states already. Do you remember I just covered Idaho? Let's come to Texas. Because sometimes when a statement is made, make America Christian, people cannot conceptualize that. How will it look? Okay, here it is. Let's go down to Texas. Over and down to Texas. When Texas said, Texas is a Christian state, it means when Texas leaders say, all Texans must pray, if you don't pray, they will kick you out. Just take that and multiply it to the 10th degree. Here it is. It says, Dan Patrick says, Texas Senate is a Christian place. Make Texas Christian again. All right? Listen. All right? First sentence. Patrick emphasized the role of Christian values in guiding legislative decisions and claimed, all right, Texas stands out among other states in this regard. Quote, we have many Christ-filled people in the Texas House. I would say that Texas, which I'm proud of, is probably the most Christ-centered. You see it now, friends? But I wanted you to hear it for yourselves. Last sentence, red word. He stressed that those who are Christians need to take hold of our country. That's it. Not only is Texas a Christian Senate and state, but the country must be Christian. You see it now? How will it look? Watch carefully now. No audio, huh? Let's move on. Let's come to this one here. Watch carefully.
Please rise in the gallery and on the floor for the invocation by Senator Paxton.
Would you pray with me? Father, we come in gratitude today for the opportunity to serve you, to serve our fellow Texans.
And the prayer went on. Hear what he said after the prayer. Lieutenant Governor Dan Jackson. Hear what he said. Dan Patrick's rather. Hear what he said.
To those in the gallery, please be seated. Thank you for standing. For those of you who didn't stand, next time you come to the gallery, you stand for the invocation. It's respecting the Senate. If you don't stand for the invocation, I'll have you removed.
That is startling. Those of you alive in the comment section, what scripture in the Old Testament comes to mind? If you don't stand and pray, and prayer is akin to worship, I will remove you, kick you out. What text comes to mind, my friends? Thank you. It's Daniel chapter 3. So this is how America is going to look officially when it becomes a Christian nation. If you don't worship the way how they say, based on their creed, you will be prosecuted, you will be persecuted, yea, even thrown in the fiery furnace, even thrown in a den with lions. That's Daniel chapter 6. A nail in a sure place. The civil leader said, you must pray the way how we say you must pray. But Daniel refused. What happened? They threw him in a lion's den, but God preserved him. Why was that written? Why? Christ said in Matthew 24 and verse 15, if you want to know what will be in the end, study the book of Daniel. Matthew 24, verse 3, verse 14, and verse 15. It's right there, friends. That's church and state union. It violates the U.S. Constitution. It strips away your rights. This is what is coming to America. And the question is, will this be a fact in 2026 when TPUSA goes on its tour to make America Christian? Pause the video and you may read those statements. Do you know what is also striking? President Trump appointed Dan Patrick as the chair of the newly formed Religious Liberty Commission. You cannot make that up. Here is somebody, a lieutenant governor of Texas, stripping away your liberties based on Bible and the U.S. Constitution. And he was now appointed as chair of a Religious Liberty Commission. How oxymoronic. And people are still questioning, is the mark of the beast coming? As somebody in the chat writes, Parker, it's all planned. Parker, I agree with you. It's all planned. May I ask you a question? All right. Let's make this more startling. What would you say if President Trump appointed Kim Jong-un, hopefully I pronounced that name correctly, the leader of North Korea, to be the chair of any department in America, much more liberty? Would that make sense to you? Let's find the most communist leader. Okay, current events. What about Venezuela? What if President Trump went to the president of Venezuela? Come over here and be the head, the chair, the leader of our Religious Liberty Commission. Venezuela, socialism. Let's find some communist leader. It wouldn't make sense. Does this make sense to you? You talk to me, my friends. And that's why these points must be applied firmly. Because sometimes we hear the current event, it goes in one ear and out the next. It doesn't resonate. There's no impact. Hopefully that was impactful. It makes no sense. It's no different if Christ, Jesus, were to say, come on, Satan. Come on over here. I'll make Satan the leader of liberty. I'll make Satan the leader of freedoms. Laughable. Sacrilegious. Nonsensical. Come back here, friends. It's all a plan. Wake up. Pause if you didn't read that. Headline says, from the Baptist press, Baptists are saying this. Dan Patrick's threat to expel citizens for not joining in prayer is antichrist. It's anti-Christianity. Pause if you didn't read that. Let's move on here. Friends, here he is. Dan Patrick on the right, Trump on the left when he was appointed.
Mr. President, thank you for establishing what I think will be one of the most important presidential commissions in history.
It will
Stop.
be
Enough. 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 It's no different on the screen now that Trump appointed a bishop, Roman Catholic Church, to the same Religious Liberty Commission. Dan Patrick and Bishop Barron and Mr. Dolan. And the Catholics put in print, I will use and implement my Catholic social teaching, which is Sunday worship by law. Beloved, may I ask you a question? Is the Sunday movement making its way in darkness for us? Everything is now in the open. Everything. For those who have eyes to see. Let's move on. In this segment, I'm going to share with you a statement from Doug Wilson, the pastor, who has great influence in America, among Project 2025 and Pete Hegseth, Defense Secretary. On the theme of Christian nation, he said that we are not going to tolerate people of other faiths in America because you can't be assimilated. Watch carefully.
You know, if we're trying to establish a Christian country, should we have our borders open or allow Muslims to come in and live in a country that's distinctly Christian?
I would say no in any kind of significant number because it's the problem of assimilation.
Whoa. That's clear. 2026 is going to be a significant year. Make America Christian. That means if you don't go along with that creed, you're not going to be tolerated, but treated as pariahs of society, menace of society.
Christchurch senior pastor Doug Wilson makes no apologies for his beliefs on God and country.
I'd like to see the town be a Christian town. I'd like to see the state be a Christian state. I'd like to see the nation be a Christian.
Enough. No assimilation.
Is planting a church in D.C. part of your mission to try to turn this into a Christian nation?
Yes. No assimilation. Yes.
But you said earlier that you want this to be a Christian world.
Yes.
So you want to supplant their religion with your Christian.
Yes, but
yes. Yes. Is the Sunday movement making its way in darkness? What will it take to awaken people to this reality? Safe to serve. It's time for aggressive, effective evangelism. All right. In this segment, this was aired on December 18. The Department of Justice just unveiled a plan to hunt, quote unquote, domestic terrorists. Now you know where I'm going with this. Who are they going to label as terrorists in America? Could it be also those who don't go along with their creed? Bible-believing Christians, even Seventh-day Adventists? Let's go.
Well, yesterday we talked about a new Justice Department directive that plans to track and prosecute domestic terrorists, which is really not a thing. The Constitution does not allow for domestic terrorism because that gives the power for the government to define any dissenters as terrorists. Well, the Trump department is saying, yeah, we want to do that. Here is some of the ways that they are defining domestic terrorist beliefs. I showed you the document this came from, and I just listed opposition to immigration enforcement, extreme views in favor of mass migration. All of these are protected beliefs. Sure, they're leftist, but you're allowed to think those things, especially the last one, support for overthrowing the U.S. government.
The second to last point. And if you're guilty of attempting to overthrow the U.S. government, don't forget that. If you are labeled as being people who want to destroy America. Do not forget that. Next clip.
You read it. So tell us a little bit about the origin of this document and whatever sources you'd like to reveal.
Yeah, so I think how crazy it sounds on its face is part of the reason it's got so little attention in the mainstream press. I think only Reuters has written about it and The Guardian, a British publication. But I put the document right there. People can go and read it for themselves. The Justice Department actually confirmed its authenticity just yesterday. So there's no question that this is happening. To give you a sort of crash course in what this all means, it's basically...
Listen, continue, listen.
Creating, in essence, a bounty system for reporting on fellow Americans who are suspected of harboring those views and being motivated by those views in furtherance of terrorism. And so if you look at page 2 of that document you put up on the screen a moment ago, it describes the FBI establishing a fund to reward tipsters with that they can send to the FBI about people that they suspect advancing these views. And my point here, if you go down that list, a lot of that is left wing.
Listen, if you go down that list, those points, a lot of it is left wing, conspiracies and conspiracy theories. Watch this now.
That list, a lot of that is left wing. But some of it also isn't necessarily political, like not having traditional views of family. I mean, that could be bachelors, that could be, right. Non-Christian. I'm Christian personally, but non-Christianity. Yeah. There are people of different, there are Jewish people, there are all kinds of different religious views that don't necessarily mean that you're a leftist. And so what I would try to stress here is that, maybe if the focus seems left now, it's being defined very broadly, and the next administration that comes in might have a different view and be able to define these things differently. So I think it's really important that people push back just in print.
That is striking, friends. That is striking. Look what this statement says in Fundamentals of Christian Education. When we reach the standard God would have us reach, worldlings will regard Seventh-day Adventists as odd. Why won't you keep Sunday? As odd. Why won't you keep Sunday like the rest of us by law? As odd, singular, straight-laced extremists, terrorists. That is striking. Come back here, preacher. That is striking. I'm going to share with you a statement here from the Washington Post. On the screen, preacher. Do you know what they called SDAs? Last sentence there. They called us a cult. And that if we did not go along with Sunday worship, we are trying to destroy America. What? Now, if somebody is labeled as trying to destroy America, what are they? They're terrorists. It's already in print. What more can be said to awaken us to this reality? What more? Here's the point before I move on. When prophecy says ABC will transpire in the near future, and then current events reveal that ABC is now being contemplated to be put into law, what should we do? Get ready. We're almost there. All right? Stop playing games, my friends. Let's get into this next segment here. Very startling. In this segment, there's a bill going through Congress right now, wherein citizens, American citizens, can now seize your personal property. That's your house and that's your land. Those who are live with me right now, you should know where this is tending. Does the Bible, does Spirit of Prophecy say in the last days that God's people will have their houses and lands taken from them by violent hands. Yes. When God's word says ABC will be fulfilled in the near future, and current events are revealing ABC are being put in bills, into law, what must that do to us? By faith, get it right, by faith, Noah being warned of God, of things not seen as yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark for the saving of his house. Friends, here it is. December 20, 2025. Fox and Friends. Listen.
Welcome back to Fox and Friends. Could privateers help take down cartels in the Caribbean Sea? Republican lawmakers Tim Burchett and Mike Lee hope so. They're introducing bills to both the House and the Senate, respectively. The president would issue a letter of marque, which lets private citizens act against U.S. enemies and seize property, something that has not been done for over 200 years. And it's already gained support from Elon Musk, who says, quote, it would work super well. The man behind the mission, Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett, joins us now. Congressman, so great to have you on. So why do you think this is necessary to have a bill to allow private citizens to do this?
Notice it's called letters of marque. Of course, in the past, M-A-R-Q-U-E. M-A-R-C-M-A-R-K, marque. The next 2-3 clips, don't miss them, because afterwards, I'm going to show you the hidden deception. And I want you all in the comment section to tell me if you see the deception. What are they now talking about? Watch carefully. Citizens can seize drug cartel property, right? Watch carefully.
Congress.
All right. Well, do you think that private citizens will actually do it?
Yeah, absolutely, ma'am. And they would be, look, they're not going to run an ad in Soldier of Fortune magazine or down here at Toddy's Backdoor Tavern in Knoxville. They'll have privateers that will be former operators. You'll have SEALs, special operations people. It'll be top notch.
Listen.
Be first-rate operators. These are men and women possibly that are some of the most patriotic, well-tuned, as you could say, military folks. And I think it's a great way to do it, and it saves all the constitutional back and forth, and it keeps our military out of it.
Okay. Beloved, I'm going to read something now from the actual bill. And I want you all to juxtapose what you just heard with what you're going to see in print, and tell me if you identify the deception. Private citizens could be granted authority to seize property from drug cartels. All right? This is a new bill from the Utah Senator, Mike Lee. The bill would authorize the President of America to commission privateers to seize the property of cartels or other groups responsible for an act of aggression against the U.S. Lee's bill will allow American privateers to seize the property of cartels or cartel-linked groups on land or sea. What did you see there that would bring cause for concern? Those who are alive, what do you see there? What phrase would cause you to be concerned? Tell me if you see it. Do you see it? Recipe for anarchy, circumventing. What phrase brings a cause for concern? Land or sea? Yes, that's one. Okay. Tamika, other groups. Parker, land or sea, other groups. That's a general phrase, other groups. Very general, ambiguous, other groups. As long as you're labeled as having an aggression against the U.S., other groups. They already said Seventh-day Adventists, it's on record. Seventh-day Adventists are aggressive against America. They want to destroy America because they just won't give up the Sabbath and keep Sunday. Other groups. Here is one other reason why we must be leery of various bills going through Congress and various states. They tell the public what they want you to hear. Okay? But hidden in that bill, page 999, page 1050, you see one paragraph that strips away your liberties. That's how these bills work. Again, they tell you what they want you to hear. You say, yes, it's wholesome. Yes, pass it. You don't even know, attached to it, akin to it, buried in the bill, is a policy, a mandate to strip away your rights. Any other, back on the screen, preacher, any other group, not only drug cartels. Yes, Patricia, they are vile. Yes, I know. That's a nail in a sure place. How many of you have the book, Early Writings? I want you all to get the book, Early Writings. I'm going to read this one from the book because, I want you all to get back to your book reading. Okay? And hear what this says on page 56. And do you recall what the senator just said? Those who are coming for your houses and lands aren't just common citizens, but the military. You call that? Navy SEALs, the military. Wait a minute. Does that not remind you of the statement in Luke 21, when you shall see Jerusalem surrounded by military? On page 56 in the book Early Writings, hear what this says. The third paragraph says, houses and lands will be of no use to the saints in the time of trouble, for they will then have to flee before infuriated mobs. And at that time, their possessions cannot be disposed of to advance the cause of present truth. What time is this? This time of trouble is the great time of trouble. Because the paragraph before that says this: God has shown me repeatedly, it is contrary to the Bible to make any provisions for our temporal wants in the time of trouble. What time is this? I saw if the saints had food laid up by them or in the field in the time of trouble, when there was sword, when there'll be sword, famine, and pestilence in the land, it would be taken from them by violent hands, and strangers would reap their fields. When the Sunday law is enforced, the little time of trouble begins. This statement does not apply to that time period. When the 7 last plagues begin to fall, when probation closes and evangelism is over for the world, then the pestilences, the plagues begin to fall. Famine ensues. The plagues are here. The swords are unsheathed because people turn against people. Church members against their leaders, pastors. Politicians will be smitten down by their constituents. All unrepentant. The wicked turn against the wicked. It's at that time, friends. They'll come for your houses and come for your lands, come for your property and come for your food. is at that time, the next sentence says, then will be the time for us to trust wholly in God, and he will sustain us. I saw our bread and water will be sure at that time, and that we shall not lack or suffer hunger, for God is able to spread a table for all of us in the wilderness. If necessary, he would send ravens to feed us, as he did to feed Elijah, and rain no manna from heaven, as he did for the Israelites, and send an angel to feed us with bread and water, as he also did for Elijah in 1 Kings 19. Next sentence, houses and lands will be of no use to God's saints in that time of trouble. They'll be taken by violent hands. What's the point? Two things. Do you see it? Those of you who are live with me right now. Since prophecy says houses, lands, food will be taken from us by violent hands. And now we're seeing a bill, makes sense now? Making its way through Congress. That will do just that. But it is camouflaged. A veneer is placed over it. It's just for American citizens to seize property from drug cartels. But also it says other groups that will be labeled as troublers in America, destroying America. That's Sabbath keepers. It's on record already. You see my point? When you see these things based on the prophecies, it should give us cause for concern. It's time to get ready, my friends. Implement those 5 keys of survival. And once you have done your part now, then God will work the miracles. Let me not hear anyone say, you see, that's why we should not move into the country. Utter nonsense. Every statement does have a context. Time period for its application. It is now Adventist homepage 141 and page 137. Move into the country. Raise your own provisions. Store up, not only for yourselves, but for others of the faith. Because the time of trouble, you can't buy, you can't sell, it's coming. Friends, were you all blessed today in Midday Power Surge? Were you? I hope and pray that you stay faithful. We have how many days? It's now December 23rd. We have 7, 8, 9 days. Thank you, preacher. Until we get to the new calendar year. On the screen, it says this, top paragraph. Yes, more people die in December. Everybody in the studio looked up at the screen. Yes. Yes, more people die in December. Yes, than any other month in the year. I wonder why. I wonder why. In my family, we have gone through it and are going through bereavement. December. What a month. December. So my friends, stay encouraged. Look forward to chapter 21 of Revelation and verse 4. Read it. Believe it. Claim it. Claim it. And let's be watchful and prayerful. Before I go. How many of you are aware of a video circulating on social media about fake UPS delivery workers? Punch those words into YouTube. Fake UPS delivery workers. Where 3 imposters prowlers, murderers destroyed a whole home. Expiring father, mother, and even the eldest son who was 20, leaving 2 young children, and they were still wearing diapers and Pampers. That means they were about 4 years old, 3 years old, maybe 2, in Pampers. Have you seen it, my friends? And they came knocking on the door. I want you all to watch that video with your family. Slow it down. Rewatch it again and learn lessons from it. Learn lessons from it. Protect your home. Don't be ignorant of your surrounding. Be prayerful. Be vigilant. These men are vile and demon-possessed. Okay, friends, I leave it there. By God's grace, I will see you all on tomorrow for Midday Power Surge. Let's pray, shall we? Father in heaven,